Welcome to the Zweig Letter podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting experts straight talk in your ear. These podcasts deliver great interviews with industry leaders and Zweig Group's 3 decades of invaluable research, leadership, management, marketing, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter podcasts let you develop personally and professionally, wherever you are.
Hey folks, this is Randy, and it is the month of August, and we are doing a best of TZL podcast series. And up next, and this week is a recording that I did with Mark Zweig back in November of 2017, and Mark talked all about making great offers. I can't think of a person that is more accomplished in the area of recruiting and executive search and just making the right decisions when it comes to making good offers. So check out this episode and let us know what you think. Thanks. I am here today with none other than Mark Zweig. So excited to have him on the podcast when he is available. This is a man on a mission with a lot of projects on his plate. So it's always great when we can get him on the actual podcast to share his ideas and insights and just overall experience. I mean, Mark's been around, and I always say this, and every time I say it, it kind of makes him sound older and older. But I say that,
because I am older and older.
It's like, this guy's got like 3.5 decades, almost 4 decades worth of experience in the design industry. And when you say it, it's like, wow. But no, he's young at heart, and he actually probably moves around more than the average 32-year-old. So that's always a good thing. But today we're just excited to have him back on the podcast, and wanted to kind of talk about a couple of things that we think will be really helpful for the listening audience. And, Mark writes the main editorial piece on the cover of each Zweig Letter newsletter that comes out. And this comes out, I believe it's 48 times a year that you can get this great advice and information from not just Mark, but the rest of the Zweig Group team. Certainly highly recommend that you take advantage of this newsletter when and where possible. And for the simple fact that it's now free, you and anyone listening to this that is working at your firm, or anybody else that needs good information, good advice about the design industry, where things are going, trends, and just information in general about making your firm better, more successful, the Zweig Letter is definitely the newsletter of choice, and it's free. Just go to zweiggroup.com and you can sign up. All we need is your email address. We don't need your blood type. We don't need a cell phone, or we don't need any other information. Just your email address is all it takes for you to get a free copy, digital copy of the Zweig Letter every week in your inbox. And more importantly, if you work at a firm, you can get a copy for everybody in your firm. So you can act like Santa Claus if you want during this holiday season, and encourage everybody to put their email address in that little box and sign up for the Zweig Letter. You will not be disappointed. Well, we'll get started. Mark, I know it's good to have you back. It's good to talk just in general about what's going on in the marketplace. But there are a couple of things that we wanted to bring up, and we're actually going to do a couple of different episodes. But today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about, kind of making job offers that get accepted. And I know a lot of times whenever I see your editorials come out in the Zweig Letter, generally it's predicated upon the fact that you just experienced something that has caused you to want to write about it. And maybe it's an issue or situation that comes up that really makes you shake your head and wonder, why are people doing what they do? But I always notice that the general reaction and the general tone of these editorials are usually in response to something. But why don't we talk about job offers that get accepted? We're at the end of the year. A lot of companies are still trying to round out their team. They're looking at 2018 as a year to really grow. And if that's the case, you have to add new people to the team. You have to create new opportunities for people that are currently on your team. But talk a little bit about just this whole issue of making job offers. And you've been involved in that space. I mean, you've served as the HR manager or director of a fairly large engineering firm. You cut your teeth in recruiting right from the beginning when you got out of school. I mean,
don't tell everybody about that HR job, please.
So, I know, but that led to so many opportunities for you. So
no, it's an important role, and it's got to be filled by somebody who really can be helpful to the hiring process, which is, as you said, I mean, it's the number one problem faced by firms today. Companies don't spend any money on recruiting, and they don't spend enough time thinking about how they're going to get their offers accepted. So, yeah, both of those subjects are very closely related. And it's bizarre because it's the number one problem. And you just see the same things over and over and over again. The same mistakes are made. Companies don't act like they have to sell their job.
Right.
They want people to come in there to tell them why they want to work there. And of course, the best people are not necessarily going to, do that.
Yeah.
But it really all starts with making sure you're offering the job to the right person. I see this a lot. It's like, well, we really like so-and-so, and we're going to make her an offer. Okay, so what kind of offer are you going to make her? Well, we're offering her $80,000. Well, what's she currently make? Well, she makes $85,000. I'm like, wait a minute. Now, why is she going to go backwards to come to work here? Well, we're a better company, and we've got a better bonus program. Forget it. Okay.
Yeah.
People are not going to take a pay cut to come to work for you. Now, if they're unemployed and they were last making $85,000, that's not the same thing.
Right.
That's the other side of it we see is people are like, I'm making 85. It's like, no, you're making zero. Okay. 80 is better than zero.
Right.
But we see this all the time. It's like, well, the cost of living's lower here. They don't care. Your ego's involved. I mean, that's, so we see this all the time. Or the other people we have, they make 80, so that's all we can pay this person. But by the way, we want somebody who's better than everybody we have.
Right.
Okay. How is that going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you see these same things over and over. It's like, they're not going to take your job. It's a lateral move, or it's a cut and pay, or you're not as good of a company. You really have to think about, who you make the offer to in the first place to make it to somebody who's likely to accept.
Right.
If it's a decent offer.
Yeah. And then, the other thing, too, is that nowadays, because marketing and branding really plays into this whole recruiting process, I mean, you constantly have to be selling the opportunity to come work at your firm and why you're so, why you guys are as successful as you are, if that's the case. Because like you said, I mean, the average person, most people in our industry are employed. So they're coming from someplace else. And so you've got to sell them on why. And it still sometimes is a hurdle for people to get over, because they just think, well, I have an offer, I have a job, so a job opportunity that this person should consider. And
the assumption is they're unhappy where they are. That's the implicit assumption.
Yeah.
And it's just not correct.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily unhappy. They might be happier if they work somewhere and had a better job. It doesn't mean they're unhappy, or they have to make a change, or,
Yeah.
So I think that's, you got to approach it from that standpoint. It does take some selling. It takes, the impression you create. When people come in and interview, first off, I don't even call it an interview. I call it a meeting.
Yeah. Or conversation.
Yeah. Why create this expectation that it's an interview? That sounds stressful.
Right.
I haven't decided I'm going to make any kind of a job change. I'm not necessarily interviewing. I'm just over here talking to you.
Yeah.
I say take the heat off, make it more casual, but every impression matters. I mean, how does the office look? Do you offer them something to drink when they come in? Do you have a nice, clean conference room? Who do they meet with? Are they positive people who smile, or are they grouchy and pissed off? I mean, all those things matter as far as the impression that you create with the candidate. And do you have any swag or swag you can give them? Do you have Do you follow up afterward with a call or a card or an email? I mean, there's just a million things you can do to create a good impression.
Yeah, those little touches matter. I mean, they really do. The other thing that does matter, and it's something that we don't always talk about, and I'm always amazed when I talk to hiring managers that never even ask about it, is, getting the spouse involved in the process. How important is that, do you think, to just, making that offer?
I think if you got a relocation, it's super critical.
Yeah.
The spouse will, you can't deny the fact that today a lot of people forget the fact that the partner or the person obviously is going to want to, see where they could possibly be moving to.
Yeah.
That's very important. But beyond that, I mean, there's so many dual career families these days.
Right.
And so that's the thing. And it's, so their career, their job opportunities are so critical. And you may need to be thinking about that. I also work over here for the University of Arkansas, as you know, and commonly when you're hiring these academics, we have to get, in the College of Business, we got to find a job for the spouse in another college, or maybe it's in the College of Business too.
Right.
Just to hire the person.
Yeah.
Because they're hard to find, and you can't ignore the fact that, the spouse's career is maybe equally important.
Yeah.
So you got to get them involved. You got to get a good realtor. That's the other thing. It makes such a difference. Don't get some neophyte who's, one of the junior partner spouses or one of the senior partner's spouse who works 5 hours a week as a realtor, as a hobby. Okay, get somebody to meet with these people that makes $200,000 a year or more.
Right.
Sells tons of real estate, really understands the market.
A real estate shark.
Yeah, can really represent the area well.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about because you've had experience there too. I mean, the right realtor is so crucial. The wrong realtor's like, they only show people things that they're familiar with. They push them one direction. They don't really listen to the needs of the buyers. They don't really figure out what their school situation is, and they send them all over to Brookwood or some other damn subdivision that they're used to selling houses in.
Right.
When Brookwood, they might be old house people. The last thing they want is Brookwood.
Yeah.
Or maybe they can't afford a $600,000 house. They'd be happy with 1,000 square foot, $300,000 house.
Right.
You really got to tune in. A good realtor makes a huge difference. They supply all kinds of info on the area. They sell the community, the schools, the low crime rate, the low commuting distance, the parks, all of it.
Yeah.
It's a package. It's all part of what you got to sell in order to get somebody to make a change. And relocation's harder than ever.
It is.
Because of the dual career issue and just because it's very expensive.
Yeah. And it's funny because we just received a call the other day of a candidate that's accepting a job in the Pacific Northwest, and they're moving from Greenville, South Carolina, and that's like night and day from a cost perspective. And so, you have to be, you have to consider that when you look at that situation. So all that has to play into it. Tell me also what you think about, these open-ended offer letters that just kind of go out and it's like, well, just get back to me when you can and let me know.
I hate those. Okay. I mean, it puts the company in a bad position because if the person doesn't get back to them in any reasonable time, they don't know whether they have to leave the offer open or they have to rescind it in order to move ahead with somebody else. So that's ridiculous. Secondly, if you give people more than 2 or 3 days, my experience is almost always turn you down. Right. Because all they can do then is go shop your offer with other people or with their current employer. Yeah. Which the whole counter offer issue is a huge, huge problem. Yeah. Anybody who's any good, when they go turn their notice in, their current employer is going to try to talk them into staying, as you know. Yeah. So we always bring that up early, even before an offer's made. If we did make you a job offer and you do go in to turn your notice in, of course, assuming that they're going to accept it. Right. What are you going to say? how are you going to respond to that? You want to get them thinking about it now.
Yeah. Invariably, I hear candidates say, I actually never thought of that. I had never thought about that. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get a counteroffer.
Sure.
So in this market, everybody's getting a counteroffer. So
and
even if they don't like you, you're getting a counteroffer.
Right. So they can keep you around until they can find your replacement.
Exactly.
Because, and that's the thing, we also know is that, rarely are they there 6 months later.
Right.
The company now wants to be in the control position and choose when they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a major problem. People need to think about it. I always advise, no matter what they say, if they say they're not going to take it, I still give them the same reasons why it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That the company should have done it sooner. They're going to keep you around so they can find your replacement. You've caught them off guard. I mean, you've got to give them all the mental, sort of processes to deal with it. I advise people too, if they can avoid it, to not even sit down when they turn their notice in. Sitting down just encourages a discussion about it.
Yeah,
and it invites a counteroffer.
Right.
Whereas if you don't, you stand, tell them it's great. I really appreciate it. If we got to get back together to talk about the transition, certainly, we're going to do that. But thank you again, and I'll be gone in 2 weeks.
Right. Right.
It's a better way to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this idea, kind of just rip the Band-Aid off and move on. So so that's the way to do it.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So any other parting thoughts with regard to making job offers that get accepted in your mind?
Any other parting thoughts? I mean, I think certainly the sooner you can get it down in writing.
Right.
A lot of times people make a verbal offer, but a candidate is not comfortable accepting it until they see it in writing. So don't delay.
Yeah. And even if we had a client the other day just send an offer over via text and say, we're following up. And in the text, they said, we are following up with a physical offer that you will receive in your mail and your email before the close of business. And that way you kind of get things cemented. And you also communicate to that candidate that you're serious about moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else is just conjecture as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it doesn't seem real.
No, not at all.
That's critical.
Yep. So, all right. Well, hopefully that's a helpful, those are some helpful tips for you guys. Mark basically gave you a nice outline for a counteroffer script. And if anybody needs additional help or advice or guidance about this matter and how to properly make offers or put them together, please reach out to us here at Zweig Group. We've been doing this for over 3 decades now, and we certainly have some experience in that area. We'd love to help you out or at least answer some questions that you may have. And also the Zweig Letter Archives. Once you subscribe and get that free subscription, the Zweig Letter Archives have a ton of articles on offers being made and just the whole recruitment process. So all kinds of great information there. You could certainly go to Google, but when it comes to the design industry, your Google should be the Zweig Letter Archives. So hopefully that will help you out. And again, we appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to listen to the Zweig Letter podcast today. We want to thank you so much for joining us. And remember, please pass this message around, share this podcast with a friend. And if you do get a chance to rate the podcast, give us a 5-star review on iTunes or on Google Play. We'd really appreciate that. And remember, sharing is caring. So thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Zweig Letter podcast. I'm Randy Wilburn.
I'm Mark Zweig.
And we will talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this Zweig Letter podcast episode. If you want more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about M&A, strategic planning, HR, and marketing your firm, subscribe now to the digital version of the Zweig Letter free of charge. Just visit thezweigletter.com/subscribe and leave your email address. Your free subscription will begin immediately.